why Great Britain is not great. We're going to look at 7 reasons why Britain is not great anymore. Firstly, we have the decline in quality of life. The cost of living has increased, and this has led to a lot of financial strain in basic necessities like housing, food, utilities. People's rent, people's mortgages have increased. The cost of food has increased. And this has led to people having to make budget cuts, shopping for food that they would not normally buy. So you're having to reassess the basic necessities. And this has impacted your quality of life. With everything being so expensive, you now have to think about travel costs and how much it costs to go and pursue and enjoy your hobbies. Also things like having the essentials like heating. So now you're more conscious about energy prices. So instead of putting on the heating when you're feeling cold, you'll just put on another jumper. And yes, this can work to a certain extent, but these are things which should be affordable. And people just start to lose trust in the government when they see everything and their basic necessities are just starting to increase. Strained public services. And that's what it says, public services. When these are strained, people can become disillusioned. If you're using the NHS and you have a long waiting time, you can lose trust in the healthcare system because you can see that it's not being funded properly. You're not able to get the care that you need. Transport, if the services are so strained and there are strikes or the cancellations, it makes it very difficult to get to work, get out and about. And this again decreases your quality of life. Growing inequality. This is a big one. It seems that the rich are getting richer and the poor or the middle class are getting poorer because people are unable to afford the basic essentials. Because if you add up these essentials in totality, and you can see that some people seem to be enjoying luxury goods, whereas other people are having to substitute the brands that they would buy maybe for their own supermarket brands and having to reassess what they eat, what they do, how they spend their leisure time. So people have to make lots of cuts and spend time and effort trying to find the best deal. And it seems that a lot of people's time is consumed with trying to find the best deal, which is only natural. But if you're having to do this for everything, it can be very draining. So there's a disparity there between people who are incredibly wealthy, they just seem to be getting richer. And for everyone else, the gap seems to be widening. And I don't think this is to be egotistical, but I think this is just survival. Many people are just having to work to survive, not work to live anymore. It should be you live and then you work, but it just seems that people are in survival mode when most of your salary is spent towards your rent and your utilities, and there's not much left over for anything else. So everyone's day just seems to be the same. People can become depressed, can be disillusioned, and it doesn't feel like there's any hope. Lack of affordable housing. In busy cities like London, yes, it's very congested and there are more and more people all the time. And it's only natural for prices to increase. But it feels like landlords are taking advantage of people when prices are increasing. And yes, they may have to pay their mortgage to cover the increase in rates. But for people that are renting or paying the mortgage, their salary may not have increased. So they are really struggling. And when you see the prices increase so much, it doesn't become affordable, and it pushes more and more people outside of the area. And if they're still working in central areas, they have to spend more on transport. They have to spend more time traveling. This means less time for their family, for their friends, for their own personal well-being, to look after their mind, to look after their body. So it feels like every day is incredibly stressful. And it seems like a pipe dream for someone that wants to buy and own their own property, because things are so expensive. So this can make people feel incredibly depressed. There's political instability and division. It seems like we've had so many prime ministers over the years, and the country's poorly run. We don't know if it's by accident or by design, but at the end of the day, it's left the country in a worse position, especially with Brexit. So people are in a position where they feel like there's no hope, because the reality is that things have got worse, especially with no clear guidance or direction. And when you find out about who the leaders are and their questionable decisions, it makes you wonder about their character, about their authenticity. And it can make people feel like the people in power don't really care about the people and are just there for prestige and for power. There also feels to be a diminished global influence. I think Britain had more of a global influence in the world when it came to making decisions, or even the perception of Britain. But over the years, it feels like Britain's perception has gone downhill in terms of being weak. Because when you look at a country, you look at the people, you look at the poorest people in the country, and you look at how are they living, how are they being treated. And the NHS, for example, was a great cornerstone of Britain. It showed how democracy can work, how people can get together and really care about each other. But over time, it feels like it's just become another business that has been sucked dry, and the people suffering are the ones that urgently need this care. So on a global scale, Britain's reputation and image has definitely gone downhill. There is a loss of optimism for the future, especially with young people growing up in the country. There seems to be less and less opportunities for these young people growing up. So back in the day, there was the perception that you work hard, you get a good degree from a good university, you can get a good job, you can buy a property, have a family, and live a good life. And this should be available for everyone. However, with the cost of living crisis, everything being incredibly expensive, when someone has finished studying, they can see that their salary that they thought they might have is much lower than expected. So it doesn't match their expectations, the hard work that they've put in. So it's only natural for a human to become disillusioned when you're putting in a lot of effort, but you're not seeing any results. And for how much longer should people keep putting up with the situation? I think with everything becoming so expensive, leads to people having to work harder, have extra jobs, which causes more stress. It damages their health, their mental health, their physical health, because they're not getting enough sleep, they're not eating good food, they are not in a good state to have good relationships around them, so that because they're under a lot of pressure. So overall, Britain has lost its shine and it has not become great anymore.